welcome back. This lecture is in continuation with the lecture 7 of part 1 of the unit number 4, and in previous lecture or last lecture we have seen implementation of the my content provider class, and we have seen the various abstract methods that belongs to the my content provider, and also we have seen how to create a database, right? And lastly, recently we have seen the some code part of the main activity .java file, in which we have seen whenever user clicks on the save data button, then this on click add details method is called, and this whole code will be executed. Okay, but when if edit text is not empty, and if edit text is empty, then it will show some error or proper message, enter some data. Now in this lecture we will see what happens if user clicks on this load data. Okay, when user clicks on this load data, then whatever function name or method name we have specified in its on click property in layout file, that method will be called. So in this case, this is the definition of the load data button, and here its text property is load button text, and on click property is set to the on click show details. Okay, so in main activity we have to implement this on click show details and write the code which we expect when user click on the this particular load data button. Okay, and that method is this one which we have implemented here, right? So whenever user clicks on this load button, then this method of the main activity or Java file is called with the view object. Okay, and after clicking on the load button, what is expected that whatever data or records you have stored into the database, that records will be fetched from database and it will be showed, it should be displayed on the activity screen, right? That is why here to show that retrieve data from database, we have declared here one text view object whose name is result view, and we are mapped this text view object with the resource or control which we have defined in the layout file or activity underscore main.xml file. Okay, so this R find view by id accepts r.id.res. R means it is resides in the res folder. Id means it reflects the id of that particular resource. In this case, id of that resource is the res. If we see the contents of activity underscore main.xml file here, then we have the control called as a text view whose id is the res, and its text property is set to the blank, because this text property of this text view will be set to the whatever data which we have retrieved from the database. Okay, and this text property will be set runtime when this particular on click show method is executed. Okay, when this method is executed, whatever data is stored into database, that data will be extracted and that data will be converted into the text format, and that text will be set to the text property of this text view. That's why it is kept blank at the initial in the layout file, and we are mapping this text view with the object of this text view whose name is the result view using the find view by id button. I hope it is clear to all of you why it is used. Okay, now next step is we need to create the object of type cursor class, right? And in database cursor class provides random read write access to the result set which is written by the database query. Okay, what a database query we have hired onto the database, that query returns a result set, and this cursor object provides a random read write access to that result set. That is why we need to create an object of the cursor class. Hence we are creating object of the cursor class and initializing this object with this particular statement. It means we are getting the access to the content resolver, because any activity or fragment don't have a direct access to the content providers. That's why content provider can be accessed using the content resolver. Hence we are calling get content resolver, and then we are calling the query method of the content resolver. And this to query method we are passing this particular argument. The first argument is the content URI. Okay, in this case our content URI is this one, but it is in string format. That is why we need to convert it into the URI format. That is why we are calling URI.parse and we are passing this content URI string of our application. Okay, and another 4 parameters are null. In our case there is no need to specify values of this particular parameters or arguments. Okay, so whenever this query method is called, then this it call the query abstract method of the content resolver content provider class, which is here. Okay, and value of this content URI will be supplied by this particular function. In this case it is our content URI of our application. So this URI will be stored into this URI variable, and other parameters are null, which are passed by this particular function. These are these null values, right? And definition of this query method we have seen in the last lecture. So what this query method of the content provider does, so whatever query has been executed, it fetches the result of that particular query from the database and returns it in the form of cursor object, right? So if you see carefully here, in cursor query method, here object of the SQLite query builder is created, and then we have set tables with our table name, and then we are checking in the switch statement if this URI is equal to the URI. It means received URI is equal to the URI of our application. Okay, if and ID of our URI code is 1. So that is why if this URI matches with URI content of our application specified by this my content provider Java file, it will return the value of 1. So it will become case 1, and it will set the projection map as a values. It means whatever values is again the content values class, which we have no content value class. It is hash map values, hash map array, which we have specified here. Okay, so it specifies that whatever key value pair values will be received by the calling class, that will be inserted into the database. Okay, and this change is notified to the content resolver, and it will return the object of cursor, which in this case it is a C. Okay, so see here, C is the object of type cursor, right? Then coming back to our main activity.java file, once we have get an random read write access to the result set written by the database query, next step is to iterate through that result set one by one and display that result on our activity screen. Okay, so for that we are checking here with if statement. So cursor dot move to first. This move to first function moves your cursor to the beginning of the record. Okay, so now cursor is at first record in our database. Then we are creating one object of type string builder, which is used to build or create one particular string as per our requirement. So we are creating object of string builder using new operator like this one. And then in while loop we are checking if cursor dot is after last. It means if it is not cursor dot is after last, it means this is after last function of cursor returns true if our cursor is positioned after the last record into that particular table or particular database. It means if cursor is beyond the last record, then it means that we have accessed all records into that particular table, and in that case this file loop will be terminated. But considering this particular condition is true, it means cursor is not after the last record, then in that case we are constructing a string using string builder class object. So string builder dot append /n for taking every new record to the new line. Then we are calling get string of the cursor object. Okay, so cursor dot get string, and we are passing cursor dot get column id, get column index, and we are passing a text id. Now here what happens, the get string method of the cursor class returns the value of requested column as a string. Okay, and this get string method accepts the value of column from which it has to extract the string, right? So here to get string method we are passing the value of column id using again calling the get column index by the cursor object. Okay, so this get column index function returns the zero based index for the given column name. Okay, and if such a column name does not exist in the particular table, then it returns the -1 value as a return value, right? So in this particular case cursor dot get string, and we are passing cursor dot get column index of id. So id is a string, and if you remember our table have two columns. First one is the id and another one is the name, right? So first one we are passing the id here, that is why it will extract the id or index of the column whose name is id, right? And that id will be passed to the get string function. For example, suppose value of this id is 1. Okay, so that one index will be passed to the get string function, and what get string function does, it returns the value of requested column as a string. Okay, so it get string function accepts that 1 and it returns the whatever value of the first column is there in the form of string, right? For example, suppose here see here, this is string key value pair which is retrieved by the database. This is at index 0 and this is at index 1. Now this is a column name this is ID and this is a what we can say name, right? So here what it does, this first parameter appends whatever ID of that particular record is there. For example, ID of this record will be 0 and ID of this record will be 1. Considering here we have received value of 1, then it will retrieve this key value pair. Okay, right? So this is 0 and this is second. It means first. This is 0 based index. So 0th index represents first record and first index represents the second record. Okay. And similarly, in next we are appending another string that is using the same function, that is cursor dot get string, but here we are passing the cursor dot get column index as a name. Right? It means, see here ID is the primary key and it is atomic incremented field. So whenever we insert any every new record, it will be automatically incremented by the system, and with that particular ID entered record will be saved. For example, suppose this has the ID of 0 and this has the ID of 1, right? So here this particular this statement will retrieve this ID number 1, considering it is the, here it is a while loop, and considering our cursor is at the beginning of the record, it means it is at this particular first record, right? So this string get string will get string method will accepts the value of 0 because this cursor dot get column index of ID, but whose ID? ID of the first record, which is 0 in this case. The 0 will pass to the get string method, and this get string method will return the value of requested column as a string. So this 0 will be written as a string, right? So it becomes 0 is retrieved, and then next we are building a string like cursor dot get string, and here we are passing cursor dot get column index with whose name is name, right? In this case this is the name column. Okay, that is why it will the column index of this name will be the second, because ID column has the first index and name column has the second index. Okay, so this second index will pass to the get string function and it will retrieve the whatever name which we have stored at under the name column of the first record, which is Pankaj in this case. So it will create this type of string. Okay, it means this particular statement will return the your ID of record, and this bracket we have given in order to proper formatting like this one. So 1 then bracket, and whatever name will be there, it will be retrieved by this particular statement, and it will be shown, or our string will be shown in this format. Okay, now cursor dot move to next method will be executed. it will bring our cursor to the next record, which is in this case this ID1 and Priya. Right. Again, this string builder will append /n, it means it will come to the next line, and in this case the get string method will receive the column index as a 2, because right now cursor is at second record and the ID of second record is 1. Okay, so it will no ID of second record is now 0 and this is 1, so it will save 2 and then followed by the bracket here, and then this cursor dot get string function will accept the cursor dot get column index of name. In this case this will be the name and it will retrieve the value of column as a Priya. Okay. Likewise, this while loop will be iterates until all the records in that particular table have been finished and all records have been appended to the string builder class. Right. Considering we have only 2 records into our table, so this string builder method will contain this type of string, 1, then Pankaj, 2, then Priya. Now this text will be set to the text view whose name is result view. So result view dot set text and string builder. And remember, result view is the text view which we have mapped with the text view here we are defined in our layout file. Okay, and if this condition become false, it means there is no record in the table, then it will set the text no record found to the in the database. Right. Now we will focus on the contents of Android manifest.xml file. In fact, we don't need to type any code into this manifest.xml file. As soon as we added our content provider, it will be automatically added to our manifest.xml file. So see here, this is a provider tag and its name property is specifying the class name of our file in which we have implemented our content provider. In this case, it is my content provider, which is this one, and its authorities are set to the package name of our application, which is this one. This is enabled, this is exported, which is set to true while creating the content provider class. Right. Now we will run this application and we will see what happens. So to save the time, I have already started my emulator here. Now simply I will click on the run option and I will select the same AVD. So the application is running, it is in process. Right, and this is our user interface which we have declared in this layout design. Right, so this is the static view which we have defined in layout file, and this is the view which is actually running on the emulator. Okay, if I click on the load data, if already some data records have been saved to database, it will load the data and it will show on the screen. So there is one record already inserted into database. Now I will enter the second, say Yuvraj Singh, and click on the save data. As soon as I click on the save data, it will call this method. It is on click save details of the main activity, and then it will uh, call the say put method of the content provider, and then it will call the insert method of the content provider through the content resolver, and that data will be saved to the database. Okay, and if it is saved to the database, then it will show the message new record inserted in the form of toast message. So I click on the save data, and we have got a message new record inserted. Okay, if I click on the load data, then this record will be added into the beneath the next data. See here 2 and Eurasync. Okay, so whatever we have built this string here, see here, first of all cursor is at our this location, the first record. That is why the cursor dot get string method will be get the ID of the first record, which is 1 here, and this bracket is appended here explicitly. That's why it is showing as a bracket. And then this second statement will retrieve the value of name which have entered by the user or which have stored into the database. In this case it is a MS Dhoni, and second case it is a ID of the record is 2 and name of the record is Yuvraj Singh. Right. So if I add one more record here, for example say Sourav Ganguly, click on the save data, new record is inserted. If I click on the load data, now there will be 3 records. Okay, so whenever I am clicking on the save data, then it is extracting the whatever user has entered into this particular text box, and it is getting saved into the database through the content resolver and content providers. One more thing, if there is nothing entered by the user and user clicks on the save data, then it will show enter some data. Okay. In this way content provider works. Okay, so we will stop here. So thank you for listening.